Welcome, everybody, to the latest edition of the Bullpen with Adam the Bull, brought to you by BetRivers. If you're not using the BetRivers app, where you been? Bet futures, bet on current spreads, bet on the NBA Finals, game number 5 tonight. Is it 5? Yeah, game 5 tonight. Whatever you want to bet on, we've got you covered on the BetRivers app. A lot to get to today, including Optimism in Browns camp, or Browns camp that just ended. Cavs still looking for a new coach. Guardians with not a great weekend and complaining about officials. That's all coming up on today's edition of the Bullpen with Adam the Bull, brought to you by BetRivers.
You're watching Adam the Bull on the BetRivers Network.
I do want to start with complaints about officiating. This is something that drives me crazy. The latest, I mean, we see it all the time. The latest example was, I saw an article this morning. I didn't see the game, but the Indiana-Chicago Sky WNBA game yesterday, and the Angel Reese with a foul to Caitlin Clark. Why does it sound wrong? I know it's not wrong, but anyway. And it was and Angel Reese basically said, well, she gets special calls without saying it. And there's always this complaint in basketball about stars getting calls. There's consistently complaints about officiating. And I find it so boring. I think it's a lame excuse for players. It's always really surprising. I know there are occasionally some plays that are just so outrageously bad, but I think it's got to be to that extreme. To me, when you complain about officials, it's a loser mentality, whether it's a player or a fan. Obviously there are examples of referees doing and umpires doing shady things. And maybe it happens more than I think. But the reality is that usually when there's a bad call, it's a mistake. Just like players make mistakes all the time. When the umpire makes a bad call in my Little League game and one of my, 11 or 12 or 13-year-old kids is upset, I always say to them, control what you can control. You can't control the umpire. And from a Little League perspective, you're learning to play baseball and they're learning how to be umps. We have a couple of older umps in our league, but most of the umps are younger guys who are doing this for the first time or the second time or the third time, and they're learning too. Now, at the professional level, it's not learning, but we see players and coaches screw up all the time, make a bad play, strike out, fumble the ball, throw an interception, foul, miss a shot in basketball. And yet we have this attitude that the umpires or refs are never supposed to get it wrong. And that's just so dumb. First of all, think about, I saw this video of, it was like the umpire cam. And think about how hard it is to call balls and strikes. We get all of the umpires. And for the most part, they do a great job calling balls and strikes. The pitch is coming 90-something miles an hour, maybe 100 miles an hour, or it's got the huge curve to it, or it's a slider, or a changeup, or even a knuckleball, and the ball's moving in all these different directions. And you've got a millisecond to decide whether it's a strike or a ball. It is amazing they don't get it wrong more often. We get to comfortably sit at home with our 4K or high-def TVs with a little box on the screen that shows the strike zone. The umpires don't have a box. The NBA players are the greatest athletes on the planet, moving at incredible speeds with incredible athleticism. And there's 3 guys on the court that are supposed to catch everything. You can't catch everything. I get it. When your whole life goes into a game, no matter what level you're playing at, if you do something right, you want the refs to get it right. And I think 99% of them want to get it right also. That yes, there's probably a couple of bad ones who either don't care or do shady stuff. But most of them want to get it right. They don't want to be controversial. I can't imagine there are many umpires or refs that want to be the reason why a team won or lost a game. And so to me, when you complain about the officiating, it's just giving a pass to all the mistakes made by your team. And that's why I brought up this latest example, because I can't stand it. In the NBA, it's unbearable. Nobody ever if it were up to the players, I don't think anybody ever committed a foul. Every time a player gets called for a foul, they complain, with almost no exceptions, especially the stars. Every time a foul is not called, they complain. I think it's awful. I guess I'm in the minority because fans complain all the time. And yes, I do it too when I'm sitting in front of my TV and I see a call that looks bad. I scream for a second. But I'm not going to go on a press conference or get on social media complaining about officials. Good luck finding, yes, there have been some bad calls over the years. And sure, I've probably put a post or two about a bad call in a game. It's happened. There are some that are critical and they're worthy of discussion. But most of the complaints are unworthy of discussion. And it's going to happen. We have human beings playing the games. We have human beings refereeing, officiating, umpiring the games. They can't be perfect. How do you expect the player? You don't expect the players to be perfect. Why do you expect the officials to be perfect? If you think about how often they get it right, it really is amazing considering the speed of what's going on in front of them. So I never thought of myself as an official apologist, but I really think for the most part, most of these men and women do a great job. It's hard. It's hard because of the athleticism in the NFL and the NBA, and it's hard because of the speed of the ball. I mean, calling the bases in baseball is not that hard. And they get it right almost every time. And if they don't, they have the replay to fix it. But calling balls and strikes is tough. I get it when they miss a call that's way off. You're like, what happened there? But it's tough calling balls and strikes for a major league pitcher. I can't even imagine. I've done it for Little League, and I'm like, there are pitches I'm not sure. So I gotta guess. It's happened. That's in Little League. I can't imagine with the stuff that the pitchers throw in the big leagues, how tough that's got to be. So I just feel, and I know what I'm saying is not going to change a lot of hearts and minds. But I really think the complaining, the whining about officiating is just unbearable. And I think players, especially complaining about it after a game, is completely lame and a complete loser mentality. That's how I feel about it. Meanwhile, Cleveland Browns wrapped up their offseason program. There is a lot of optimism in Browns camp about Deshaun Watson's health. And the fact that he was throwing the ball this week. And, again, I take it all with a grain of salt because there's no pressure when you're throwing in a mini camp. There's no equipment on. There's no threat of being hit. There's nothing bad that can happen from the other players. So I take it all with a grain of salt. But yes, it's a positive. And I talked about this last week about Deshaun Watson being all in and doing all the right things. But then since I last talked to you on Thursday, he looked like he was able to throw the ball deep. And to this point, we haven't heard of any what's the word I'm looking for? Any setbacks or any problems from throwing the ball deep. So I take it as a positive. I'm not going over the top. Some people are going a little crazy right now. This new look offense, they're looking great. David Njoku said it's juicy. It's this. Deshaun Watson looks amazing. I can't go that far yet. It's practice. He's not getting hit. He's not wearing equipment. So I'm not going to go nuts. But it's a positive that he's able to do this without any setbacks. as of now. And now it's time for a break. You got a month and change of 5-6 weeks where you back off, you relax, you do whatever you got to do. I assume Deshaun Watson will stay on top of his rehab or whatever he has to do. There's probably things that he has to do rehabbing that shoulder over that time. But it does appear that an injury we knew little about because there's no track record of it for quarterbacks appears to be headed in the right direction, or he appears to be headed in the right direction coming off that injury. So a lot to be happy about right now. I think it'll be interesting to see if the Browns decide to scoop up some. There's still some interesting veteran free agents, some older guys. And I'll be interested to see if the Browns do anything in that vein. They've picked up some no-name guys, in recent days. But before they officially report to training camp in 6 weeks, be curious to see if they had any, veterans we've heard of. Whether it's at linebacker, maybe a backup offensive lineman. Their fourth offensive lineman is Hakeem Adeniji, who used to be on the Bengals, who is really awful. Now, he's your fourth tackle, but on this team, last year you used your fourth and fifth tackles. Maybe even, I think even sixth at one point. So maybe there's a veteran offensive lineman that they snatch up. Could they bring in another veteran wide receiver? Probably not. But that's, now's some time that maybe some of those last guys, after teams have seen what they've got in the mini camps and the OTAs, that some of these last free agents, and sometimes it doesn't even happen until into training camp because guys get hurt or whatever. But we'll see if any of those guys get picked up. The good thing is the Browns obviously have a great roster, and there's no obvious need. You might want one more linebacker, I guess. The Browns aren't playing with, you're playing two linebackers, and they got Hicks and they got JOK, and there's not much depth after that, or at least not much proven. It's all a bunch of undrafted guys behind them. So maybe that's something they do. Maybe, something in a tight end. But we're talking pretty deep down the depth chart. Guys that are going to play minimally, if at all, even if they make the roster. And anybody you're picking up now is certainly not a guarantee to make the opening day roster. But it's just something to keep an eye on here over the next couple of weeks. From Major League Baseball, Guardians lost 2 out of 3 over the weekend to the Blue Jays. Just their second series loss of the last month. Something I'm going to dive deeper into on the Ultimate Guardian show is Steven Kwan, but I want to talk about it briefly here because Steven Kwan went 4 for 5 yesterday. He's batting .396. He's actually on pace. Well, no, he's not on pace because he missed a month. But there's a real interesting stat that Zach Meisel had in The Athletic that he's averaging more hits per game than Ichiro did when he broke the Major League record for hits in a season in 2004. That's the kind of season. I mean, nobody's hit 400 in my lifetime and probably yours. And I can't imagine any way Steven Kwan's going to hit 400, but he's batting .396 in the middle of June. That's pretty amazing. I got to look up the last. I know. I want to say Tony Gwynn was hitting over this high at this late in the season. Maybe Ichiro. I can't remember now off the top of my head, but there's not been many guys that have hit .396 in the middle of June. Now, again, he missed a month. So, he hasn't played as many games as most guys would have in the middle of June. But, and that's the only thing I got to take. I mean, it's been incredible. Since he came off the injured list, and you'd never know he was hurt because he's been even better. He was great before he got hurt, and he's been even better since he's been back. It's completely crazy. Finally, still nothing new as of this morning on the coaching front for the Cavs. We know who the final candidates are. The draft is right around the corner next week. And will the Cavs have a coach in place before then? We shall see. The Lakers still haven't hired a coach yet. So it'll be interesting to see how that winds itself up. But obviously, if there's breaking news on that front, we'll keep you updated. All right, thanks for joining me as always. Thanks to Monzo for producing. Thanks to all of you for watching and listening. Please hit the thumbs up. Please hit the like. I'll be on the Ultimate Guardian show and off from the main show this week. I'm taking a week off from the main show. Well, there's a possibility I may stop. I may be on one day. We'll see. I've got another podcast on Wednesday, and of course, the live bullpen on Thursday, as always, at 2 p.m. Until then, we'll talk to you next time. Where else but right here in the bullpen with Adam the Bull, brought to you by BetRivers. See you, everybody.